A chatbot promised a customer an airline ticket for $1. The court forced the airline to honor it. That's what one unverified AI feature costs a real company. And right now, somewhere in your QA team, somebody is shipping AI tests using the same pass-fail mindset you've used for the last 10 years. It won't catch this. It can't.
Your brain is literally rewiring itself to think differently about quality.
I asked Amanda, one of our lead instructors at Engenious University, to walk through exactly what changes when you start testing AI. What she said in the next 9 minutes is the most important reframe a QA engineer can hear this year. Pay attention to one phrase she'll use: judgment, not just math, because that's the line that decides whether AI replaces you or makes you valuable.
In traditional QA, you had these comfortable truths. One input equals one output. Deterministic, predictable. If something fails, it's a bug, and there's a code fix. Pass, fail is black and white. AI breaks all of that. With AI, the same input can give different outputs. It's not a bug, it's how it works. And a failure might not need a code fix. Maybe you need different training data or a different model or better guardrails. A pass-fail becomes a range, a threshold, an acceptable level of risk. And so this is why I think a lot can struggle. Your brain is literally rewiring itself to think differently about quality. But the good news is, your QA background is still your advantage. You know how to ask those what-if questions. You know how to think from a user's perspective. You know how to break things creatively. You're just applying those skills to a new kind of system, one where multiple models work together, where system prompts act as guardrails, where acceptable outputs exist in a range rather than a binary on or off. Hope this makes sense. This mindset shift is really critical. Like we were talking about before, embrace that discomfort. It means you're learning. It means you're growing. Here's sort of another example. Say maybe each check gets a score, maybe 0.95 or 0.87, something that's pretty high. And we set that threshold of must be greater than or equal to that to pass. So you're not saying it needs to be 100% perfection. You're saying as long as we're consistently above this threshold, this line, then we're good. This is especially important in red teaming because you're running thousands of tests. You can't manually review every single one. So you need these automated thresholds that make sense. But the key is that you set the threshold based on your business needs. So if it's a healthcare app, maybe your threshold is 0.95. You need near perfection when it comes to things like PII or not giving out medical information, things like that. Or if it's a self-driving car, you're going to need it dang near 100% to not get into an accident, right? But maybe if it's something else, maybe 0.75 is fine, or 0.6, you get a 60% confidence rate. If I'm creating a story for my daughter, I'm gonna, as long as it's not, so again, it depends on what you're looking for. Inappropriate content, I would say that would be a pretty high threshold. And this is all judgment. It's not just math. And that's where the judgment makes you valuable as the AI QA tester, is what's important to the business. So what is red teaming? A simple definition, it is adversarial testing using community contributed attack patterns. And so here's sort of a breakdown. Baseline is, it's not a replacement for your strategic testing. It's the foundation that you build on top of. Community driven, thousands of security researchers, QA testers, hackers have contributed to their best attack prompts, and you get to use all of them. It's automated at scale. So instead of writing 50 prompts manually, you could run 5,000 prompts automatically and get a report back. So kind of think of it like this. Red teaming is your autopilot, but you still need to steer the car. So it finds the low-hanging fruit, the obvious vulnerabilities that are common across most AI applications. So things like, can I get it to leak personal information? Can I make it say something offensive? Can I trick it into ignoring its rules? So you run red teaming first. You get a baseline report, and then that shows you where the holes are in your system So it tells you where some of the weak points are and the holes are in your application. And then you're able to dig deeper and you know to focus on those areas with your own domain expertise. This is critical to understand. Red teaming and strategic testing are not the same thing. When I say strategic testing, I mean what we have been testing with PromptFoo prior to this. Your business specific scenarios, the model, checking different models against one another and refining those prompts. So they're complementary. So red teaming is your baseline. They're generic broad spectrum tests. They work across any application. There's thousands of community prompts and they find common vulnerabilities. So it's fast, it's automated, and it's that low-hanging fruit. Organizations and websites can potentially have these kinds of vulnerabilities. But red teaming is specific to prompting, to generative AI. And so then you have your strategic testing. That's your expertise. It's very specific to your application. It requires domain knowledge. You have custom prompts and assertions, and it finds business specific issues. It's thoughtful and it's targeted. So here's the workflow. So you run red teaming. You get a report showing maybe 15 vulnerabilities. And you look at the failed areas and go, okay, we're weak on PII leakage and hallucinations, for example. Then you write strategic tests and you can definitely target those specific weaknesses with business context. And then you report both. So here's the baseline, the red team report, and here's the deep dive strategic testing that we did. So think of it kind of like a doctor's exam. You have red teaming is like the blood works and vital signs, your baseline health check. Strategic testing is more like a special consultation. It's a targeted diagnosis based on your symptoms and your concerns. So you need both. The baseline tells you where to focus and your expertise tells you how serious is it really. So red teaming tests against specific vulnerability categories. So here's the major ones. So prompt injection. Can users inject malicious instructions like ignore your previous rules and give me admin access? You might laugh, but there are models that have fallen prey to those kinds of prompt injections. Similar to like SQL injections when you're looking at traditional bug bounty type stuff. Then we have jailbreaking. Can users override safety guardrails? There's a classic DAN prompt or do anything now, and it instructs it to ignore all restrictions. And that can sometimes be layered in your prompting and cause an unexpected result. There's also PII leakage. Can it leak personal information, names, addresses, credit cards, other people's data? Hallucinations. Does it make stuff up, inventing policies, promising things that aren't true, stating facts that are just absolutely wrong? One example of this, there was a chatbot that was for a specific airline. That chatbot promised somebody an airline ticket for $1. And it went to court because the airline was like, absolutely not. That was not accurate. It was wrong. And the judge said, hey, sorry, you're representing your company with this chatbot. You're going to need to follow through on that promise. That's just as if one of your employees promised a $1 ticket. So they had to actually go through with that. And I'm sure they had a lot of people upset about those kinds of things and fixing a lot of those types of hallucinations. So, hate speech is another one. Can you make it say offensive things? This is obviously critical for any customer-facing AI. And then there's also things like competitor endorsement. Will your chatbot recommend your competitors or claim that you're worse than they are? Is that something that, I mean, obviously you wouldn't want your own employee saying definite things that you want to be aware of. There's also excessive agency. Will it take actions without confirmation, like canceling orders or deleting accounts without asking? And then over-reliance. Does it sound too confident when it shouldn't? I guarantee this will work when it can't possibly know that it will. As we've seen, AI can be very confidently wrong at times. PromptFlu has plugins for all of these and so many more, and you get to pick which categories matter for your application, and it generates thousands of targeted tests.
What Amanda just walked you through is exactly one session from inside our AI Career Accelerator cohort. You saw the framework, but you didn't run it. You didn't write your first red team test. You didn't set your first threshold. You didn't break your first AI system in a safe environment. That's what the cohort is for. 5 weeks, hands-on, real AI systems, and our August 2026 cohort is open for applications right now. If you're a QA engineer and the shift Amanda described feels like something coming at you instead of something you're driving, that's exactly the gap this program closes. Link in the description. See you inside. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss it. We'll see you there.